To whom agrees? Greetings and salutations.
The universe is just doomed. 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 Doomed.
Welcome back.
It's us, Nicole.
And Tessa.
The Dames of Doom. I feel like we need to start embracing that more. We need to start putting that on things more.
We gotta put that on things. We gotta put that thing on it more.
Yeah, we do. We have no research assistant tonight.
Nope, we're all alone.
Liana was supposed to be here, but poor Liana.
She got pneumonias.
She's been sick since like Christmas.
I know. She had a case of the vapors and it went
and it got wild.
Gosh, she didn't have a fainting couch.
Nope.
And
she didn't have her white handkerchief.
Control. No, she didn't. She didn't. She had a touch of the consumption, but she's almost better, but she just didn't want to be a drag.
Yeah, she still tires easy.
She tires easy. She's faint.
Her lungs aren't at full capacity yet.
No, she's at the ward.
And since it was last minute, I didn't want to like hit up Kim randomly like
I know you want to drive
before.
Out here?
Like, by the way, you want to drive for almost 2 hours to get to my house tonight? Unannounced.
I drove kind of past her house on the way out here.
Oh yeah, because you went a weird way.
I did. I always go a weird way now. I go, that's gonna be my thing.
Something different every time.
Find a different weird way. I had to take your kid along with me on a bunch of excursions.
So appropriately, yesterday was John Carpenter's birthday.
Yeah.
And we are here to talk about the 30th anniversary of In the Mouth of Madness.
The 30th anniversary of the U.S. release, because there's always some confusion as to whether it came out.
Yeah, so when you look it up on IMDb, it'll say 1994, but then if you look at the details, the release date for the U.S. was February 3rd, 1995.
Yes, so that's
it came
what we're
out
going
in Germany in 1994.
Sure, but since we're not Germans...
And
we're Americans.
Before we get into this movie, it's totally off topic, but we would be ashamed of ourselves if we did not also talk about what happened yesterday.
Oh, that was bad.
On John Carpenter's birthday.
I know.
Poor David Lynch.
I know.
And let's do a spell of protection right now for John Carpenter.
I know. Form a protective circle or something. Get some salt, bitch, because we need to.
We do not need to talk about any other national treasures and have them die within a couple weeks.
I went to work. I went to the office, and by the time I came out of the office, I had heard the news. Nicole let me know, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?"
Yeah, one of the first things when I woke up, I had messaged Harry something because he had sent me something overnight, and I replied, and he said, "Just go back to bed. David Lynch died.
Back to bed.
The day's a wash."
I know. It's just there's no reason to be out and about.
And this was probably not since David Bowie have I seen so much outpouring of like people who were affected by this person they never met's death.
Kyle MacLachlan's was like,
yeah. If you guys want a good cry, a good heartwarming, wholesome cry, go read Kyle MacLachlan's statement.
I told you I was like the tribute of one person I don't know to another person I don't know is like making me cry right now.
Seriously. So yes, R.I.P. David Lynch.
Yes.
We hope it wasn't our fault.
I know. Sorry.
For talking about your movie.
I know.
Well, but we talked about Lost Highway a long time ago.
That's true.
He survived that.
He survived that round.
That one.
Jesus. But yeah, and then also there's a couple of people from Twin Peaks in this movie.
Oh yeah, who all was it? You said
Jurgen Protchnow,
who plays Sutter Cane,
was the woodsman.
Oh, that's right.
In Twin Peaks, and Frances Bay, Mrs. Pickman.
Yes, the creepy old lady
was
with Baby
Mrs.
Lynch.
Tremblay, yeah, which
is Baby Lynch.
Literally, Baby Lynch is his son.
Did not even realize that.
No,
you guys. If you listen to this podcast for information or facts,
you're in the wrong place.
You're in the wrong place. We had somebody comment on one of our YouTube videos recently. I didn't even tell you something about. I think it was the 200 cigarettes. So this is from like a year,
is like a while
over
ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
And somebody came across our episode and watched it, and I can't remember what all it said, but they basically read us the riot act about dismissing this director's filmography based on this film. And I said, well, first of all, this was a year ago, and I don't remember what we said.
Right.
I know I did not really enjoy 200 Cigarettes that much, but I don't think that we discounted, because like the other movies that person's done that they listed were all movies like that we've covered and enjoyed. So I'm like, I don't remember doing that.
I don't either.
So, but yeah, if you're coming to us, we're not film reviewers.
Well,
we don't have any.
We do not have any films that
We're
have
not film
ever come
critics.
out. So, like, it's not anything we've ever done. The best we could do is sit here and talk shit and criticize.
We're like, PE teachers or whatever.
Right. Those who cannot become PE teachers or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
something like that.
So, yeah.
Those who cannot become podcasters.
Exactly. We just comment.
And that's us.
We just comment.
We're just talking shit, man.
What is it? The thing from fucking, oh God, what's that? Oh shit. The one with John Cusack and the fucking, he's like an asshole and Jack Black is in it.
High Fidelity?
There you go. That one where he talks about a professional appreciator or some shit like that. But he's just talking shit about
that's it.
sitting on
we
your
have
fucking
no
pedestal and talking about
education in
the
film.
accomplishments of other people.
And we are not like saying we could do better than
No.
anybody. We have absolutely we wouldn't even know where to begin with starting to make a film. This is just our films we grew up with that affected us in some way or the other that we've decided to talk about.
Was it your fantasy to get us fucking apologizing at the beginning of Fantasy February?
Oh, that's right. It's Fantasy February, you guys.
Hey!
And I mean, the only person whose fantasy this is probably Sutter Cane's, but
right? To become God.
but it's fantastical.
It is fantastical.
sure.
It means a lot of things. We did discuss this.
It might have fit more in Nightmare November, but it was not the anniversary.
Well,
We
that's
had- we
also
had
true.
to
We
do it
had
now.
to have it now. We had to have it now.
So let's get into this cast.
Let's do it. We've got Sam Neill as John Trent.
Jurgen Protchnow as Sutter Cane.
Julie Carmen as Linda Stiles.
David Warner as Dr. Wrenn.
John Glover as Saperstein.
Bernie Casey as Robinson.
Peter Jason as Mr. Paul.
Charlton Heston randomly as Jackson Harglow.
Was this like a moment where they were having like old movie stars be
maybe.
Agents? I mean, maybe it was just those 2 times like in Misery.
Yes, that's
and
right.
This. Were there any other things? We don't have a research assistant.
No.
Were there any other things? Y'all out there, let us know back to the Future when you listen to this later on.
Yes, send
let
us
us
a
know then
message.
because we're not going to look it up.
No.
But were there any other movies in which there was an old-timey movie star that played an agent?
I would assume like John Carpenter grew up watching Charlton Heston movies and found out
Right.
like, oh, Heston's available. Like I can just get a
I
hold
could
of his
just
agent
get
and
Charlton
fucking cast
Heston.
him. All right.
All he's doing is fucking NRA rallies.
He ain't busy.
He ain't busy. Well, he's not busy now. He's fucking dead.
Yep. Frances Bay as Mrs. Pickman, which we already talked about. And Wilhelm von Homburg.
With his voice as Simon.
Yeah.
And this was his last feature film appearance. Never made another movie after this.
Really?
Yeah.
And I had totally forgotten he was in this. And I was like, what are the chances that we would do Ghostbusters 2
How could
in
you
this?
not miss that big ass head
It's
head?
Vigo!
It's Vigo. And also Lil Hayden Christensen is the paperboy.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Did they really make him up as an old nan or?
No, not as that kid.
Oh,
on
no,
the
no,
bike
the
at the very,
paperboy at
very
the end.
The very, very end.
Oh,
the
wow.
little
I
kid.
did not clock that at all.
No, and even though I knew that,
It still didn't look like him.
no, it really didn't. But
Interesting.
he was like a little guy. He was just like a little kid. So apparently that's who that is. That was his debut.
Interesting.
Ta-da!
Well, there you go. So we start out with some
Dun-dun-dun,
rockin'
dun-dun-dun,
fucking
dun-dun-dun,
John Carpenter
dun-dun-dun,
riffs.
dun-dun-dun,
And I told Tessa, so like I was sure, I'm like, this has got to be
Yeah.
John Carpenter, right? But I turned on my Google song search and it had a really hard time. It was like still
Trying to
searching,
find
still
it.
searching, still searching. And then finally it was like, no, this is some like long German name by Michael Tite.
Michael Tite.
And I was like, oh. So then we went to YouTube and looked up that song by Michael Tite, and it just has a
It's a
little bit of the
sample.
riff of this, and like a dude kind of rapping in German or like talk singing in German.
He could be saying fucking anything.
I have no idea. So no, yes, this is John Carpenter.
Yes.
And we see a printing press.
Michael Tite.
Right? We see a printing I thought that would have been hilarious though if it turned out that John Carpenter was releasing music under the name
Right?
Michael
Like
Tite.
he did that fucking Garth Brooks thing.
Yes,
What
where
was
he's like,
that? What was oh fuck. Chris Gaines.
Yes,
Chris Gaines.
yes.
We had the little fucking Flavor Saver.
Well, and I think that was supposed to be
It
like a movie, right?
Yeah,
and they never
like,
did
they
it.
Never made the movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Fuck it, I'm releasing
doing it anyway.
I'm releasing the album.
made all this fucking music.
I bought this fucking wig. I'm wearing it. I bought a turtleneck.
Oh,
I'm
that
making
was
some
hilarious.
adult contemporary music.
Hilarious.
Fucking Garth Brooks.
So these sick riffs are going over the printing press, which is printing the Sutter Cane novels.
Yes, it's making all the covers, all these rad, old-timey horror covers. I would have bought the fuck out of these books.
Yeah, I would have read the shit out of some Sutter Cane.
Do I read Sutter Cane? Yes, the fuck
Yes,
I do.
My eyes would have been bleeding immediately.
Oh, I could see.
And we see it zooms in on coming soon in the mouth of madness.
Right,
It's
that's
like
his
on the
next
back of
book.
the issue.
Hobbs End Horror is the most recent one that's going out, but coming up
Is in the mouth.
of
This
madness.
movie probably addresses the title of a movie more than any movie
I know.
has ever.
It says it quite a bit.
They
It's at least
say it a
it's
lot.
written down. Well, it's all very in and out, and it like kind of gives you a little bit of Stephen King, even though she mentions that later.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is like that H.P. Lovecraft, like the old ones,
Yes,
and like
yes,
the horrors
absolutely.
out of the darkness and the
Absolutely.
void and all that shit.
So, coming soon in the mouth madness, the ambulance pulls up to this hospital in Saperstein, which is the dude
That
from
guy from
Gremlins 2
Scrooged.
and Scrooged.
And that movie where he burns little Matthew Lawrence, apparently.
Oh my God. So he's a psychiatrist or whatever, a
Right,
doctor
he-
at this mental hospital.
Maybe. And I meant to look up, but I really thought somebody else was going to be here about what is this building? This looks like it would make you even crazier
Right?
to be there.
And is it all just concrete padded cells in there?
I know, or is that one special just for him?
He's just extra dangerous.
I
So
guess so. Well, he's not insane.
John Trent is dragged in a straitjacket.
I'm sorry about the balls. Don't put me in there.
So yeah, he tries to fight off the guards, and when they throw him in, he's like, "Sorry, I kicked you in the balls."
Right. He's like, I'm not insane. And everyone's like, me neither.
All
neither
the
am
inmates,
I.
I'm not either. So Saperstein turns on some.
Oh, the Carpenters. The Carpenters.
We've only
Just begun.
And John Trent's like, no.
Oh,
It's
see,
like,
now I love the fucking Carpenter.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
John
love some-
Carpenter.
is
playing
that
the
why
Carpenter.
the
I don't know.
Carpenters? That's funny.
Carpenters are always good, though. I love the fucking Carpenters on a rainy day. I will listen to the Carpenters.
The music slows to a creepy stop,
Oh, shit. Uh-oh.
and someone knocks on his glass window.
Uh-huh.
And he gets up and looks, and ain't nobody,
Ain't nobody
out there.
there.
But there's a shadow behind him.
Oh, no. Now it's inside.
This is a rotten way to end it.
Oh.
And you just hear, so you don't see
No,
the
you don't
person,
see
but
who
you
it
hear
is.
the voice. This is not the ending. You haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
And then you get all these flashes: a house, an axe, blood splatter,
Right.
monsters.
Like, it's all these fucking freak out things. Like, all the things that you're going to see, all the things that haven't happened yet is coming up.
So then, bam, lightning starts striking outside. Shadow's gone. And a new guy is there. Dr. Wrenn is there
Dr.
to see
Wrenn.
Trent. And we don't ever find out because he doesn't seem to be affected by this. So I don't
No.
know what his deal is or where he came from.
No, he's just there. Well, because Saperstein asks him when he comes in to see Trent, he's like, so do you think he's one of them? Because they're like, you hear throughout the whole entire movie in the background, the news and the radio and everything talking about
Right.
all of these outbreaks of like insane people
Yeah.
and the clergy being against each other and police and people that work in hospitals and shit all fighting each other and like going violent and whatever. So maybe he thinks because he had done all this stuff that he's one of them.
I guess. So he asked if he made any requests. Well, just one.
A single black crayon.
And now he's only been in here, I think, a couple of hours.
I know. And really a crayon's going to do that to your, like all
And your
over
face?
himself and his face.
So he's drawn crucifixes.
Like crosses on everything, the walls, himself.
And like
his
all the way to the
gown.
damn ceiling.
I
Floor to
know.
ceiling.
How did he get up there?
He had like a chair, but I don't even think that chair was tall enough to reach as high as he drew those
I don't know.
crosses.
How tall is Sam Neill? We don't have a research
I
assistant.
don't know. So yeah, so he's drawn
I did
all
look
over
it
himself.
up. He was 48.
Oh, Sam Neill was? Interesting.
At this
I wouldn't have
time.
clocked him that old, actually.
No, I did the math. He was
For 1995, I
Five.
would have said 40.
48 apparently, because that's what I looked up. Because my husband asked me,
Well,
like,
you're
who
looking
looks
good,
older?
Sam Neill.
I know. He was like, who looks older, me or him? And I was like, I don't know. You guys probably are like the same age.
Right.
And I was like, oh, actually, he's older than you.
So he goes in, the doctor goes in, and he knows right away, like, now you're playing crazy.
Right. Like, why don't you want to? He was like, no, I'm safer in here. I don't want to go back out there. I changed my mind.
And so he hands him a smoke, lights it up, and Trent knows he's there because he wants to know if he's one of them or whatever.
Right. Like, oh, you want to know if I'm one of them.
Or about
like,
my them is what he says.
Right. That's what you want to know about. He's like, things must really be going to shit out there because Saperstein mentions it too. He's like, how bad is it out there?
So Trent starts telling his story that he was a freelance insurance investigator, checking out frauds, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And this all started with the Sutter Cane disappearance.
Right. Like they go over a little quick thing about another case that he works where he like gets a guy.
Yeah, so flashback to him and Robinson talking to this guy, Mr. Paul, about this fire. His business was set on fire.
He lost a bunch of shit, but like, here's your wife wearing that shit, and also here's your girlfriend.
Mistress, yeah.
And I told your wife, and she got mad, and now you're busted. So that kind of sets him up as this kind of character, and then he goes and has lunch, right? Or
yeah,
with
Robinson. He's like telling him how great
he is.
You're like the best
in the fucking business, and like, come work for me.
But he likes to be freelance. He doesn't like to have a boss.
Nobody pulls my strings.
So as they're chatting casually, there's a commotion across the street.
Right. And this guy walks out with like an axe and he's all fucking menacing. And you see a bus go by before that with the Sutter Cane thing on the side of the bus. And then the guy comes out and like while they're talking about the Sutter Cane disappearance.
Just as they start to talk about Sutter Cane being missing, he like smashes this big old window with his axe.
And like jumps up on the table and his eyes are all like
weird.
And fluxy.
They're like splitting in two.
He's like, do you read
Sutter Cane?
And that does not sound like it's his voice.
No, it sounds dubbed.
It doesn't sound like it's coming from that man.
Yeah, it definitely sounds
now
dubbed.
or later when he talks again. It does not sound like it's coming from him. But he's like, what?
Yeah.
And then
so
he gets shot up by the police.
He's just about to like chop him with his axe when the cops come in and shoot him down.
The one time that you're glad that the cops showed up to shoot somebody.
So the News on 8, story about Sutter Cane being a mad prophet. There's scenes outside several bookstores. They couldn't meet demand for pre-orders for In the Mouth of Madness.
Right. And things are getting violent. People
are
like rioting.
Dangerous?
Yes, they are. Only if you count axes.
So Trent's now at the publisher, looking at all the imagery of the Sutter Cane novels out in the hallway. And
it's
he goes
big
in
business
to meet Charlton Heston.
Oh, it's here. Everybody get out of here. I need some time with Mr. Trent.
So just Linda Stiles stays, who he'll meet in a moment. And she's got her serious bun and spectacles on, which is, I think, the only time in this.
She is an editor.
Yes.
She does
the
Sutter Cane
best
shit
editor.
On her own. Like, she single-handedly handles with one hand the Sutter Cane account.
And Trent refers to it as horror crap, and she takes her specs off.
Right, like...
he sells better than Stephen King, blah, blah, blah.
Right, like, maybe you just don't get it.
Maybe it's too deep for you.
Yeah, it's too sophisticated for you, too sophish.
So they tell him that the cops have turned up nothing, that 2 weeks ago, Cane mailed a rough draft to his agent. The agent is the guy who went crazy with the axe.
Well, that's what he tells him. He's like, well, what did he have to say? And he was like, well,
told
you heard
you?
what he had to say. He was like, what? That was his agent? So now, like, well, now you see what we're dealing with. So we're going to send you.
Well, and he just passes it off as, well, someone who outsells King should be able to afford better representation. So he just thinks that particular guy was a nut.
Right.
So she gives him a dirty look. He goes out she goes out and he follows her out and is like, oh, I'm just kidding.
Right. Like, like she's like, we're not in the mood to make jokes. Like, we've already sold movie rights. Like, we need the rest of that book. We need the ending. We need to get it out there. We need to get it published. We don't even know where he lives.
And he's like, oh, yeah, this is a great publicity stunt.
Exactly.
It's going to be real cute. Put it in the press kit.
She's like, no.
And he does the like lean, the
I
arm
know.
lean against the wall.
He's like, you want to meet up
Sir.
later and talk about this over dinner?
Sir.
And she's like, no.
I don't got nothing to tell your ass.
I know. She's like, we're just going to go and
try
do
reading his books.
Right. And then you see if you get it. If you get it.
So he gets in the elevator and leaves. So then we see him walking down a dark alley.
Yes. And you see the
Hobbs End horror posters are up everywhere.
It's like torn a little bit or whatever. And he hears in the alleyway this cop beating the shit
out of just like a tagger.
Yeah, just somebody.
Not even somebody doing like a violent crime.
No,
like
it's
a
just
kid
somebody
for spray
out,
painting or
just
something.
Somebody out at night.
Just some unhoused individual.
Yeah, you know, just hanging out, doing a little painting in a shitty alleyway. Like, who's going to notice?
And the cop sees him like, you want something too, buddy? And he just turns around and goes home.
No, not really.
So he goes home and I think he's talking to Robbie. I don't know who he's talking to, where he's telling them this is all a scam. It's mass hysteria.
Like just, you know, like I'm going to get into it and we'll see what's up. I just have to figure out what the angle is.
Yeah,
and once I
what's the
figure
setup?
that out, then we're all cool.
So he goes into a bookstore where all the books are all tossed on the ground.
Yeah, like it's all chaos, and he goes to pick up.
He like embarrassingly picks up a copy of each Sutter Cane.
I know, like
and $5.99. You remember when a book was
I
fucking
know,
$5.99?
and yes.
That wasn't even a sale, I don't think.
No,
that was just like
it was
the
just
price
that's
of the books.
what it cost in the little bookstore or whatever. And I'm surprised that they had them on the shelf. Like so
I know all the
many
ones that were
copies,
thrown down weren't the Sutter Cane books.
I know, like
Just
it
other
didn't
books?
seem, or well, no, because they were pre-ordering for the new one. Everybody,
So yeah,
already
it was
had
all
those,
the
I
other
guess.
ones, I guess.
Like, relax, it's coming. Well, that's why they need him to find him, because they're getting fucking restless.
Yeah.
And this little like nerd boy
With glasses comes
and like
up,
a busted chin.
I can see you. He sees
sees
you.
you.
He's all great. Tell him I said hi. He's like, I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
Right? Like, okay, y'all are weird.
So cut to him at home reading when his phone rings.
Yes.
And it's Robbie. And he's like, yeah, I'm reading. It's all pretty standard pop horror. But
Right. But there's like, it's something about the way that he writes or like whatever. It like
really
sucks
well written,
you in.
yeah.
Yeah.
so he goes back to reading and smoking and he flashes. And now I couldn't figure out right here because I don't think it's that he was reading about what just happened to him because he didn't seem that affected by it. I guess he's just sort of nodding off while he's
Maybe.
reading and flashing back to make
Well,
it. I don't know. This is a weird part.
Well, like, I think maybe because that's when the cop or whatever looks all like maybe he's
Zombified,
just
kind of?
imagining himself as like the character that he's reading about because he's reading about somebody walks down a street.
Because
and
he
goes in an
obviously didn't
alleyway.
read his name in the
No.
book. You know what I mean? Or he would have been like, what
He
the
would have
fuck?
been onto it already. Oops,
Yeah.
oops. But like,
so this time the cop's brutalizing this dude, but now his face is all like
right,
zombified,
like it's all
kind
gross,
of fucked
but
up.
you don't see it yet. He turns around and he wakes up all like, oh,
Well,
fuck.
now the graffiti, which earlier was
Oh,
just
it's-
CA, says can see.
Yeah, I can see.
I can see. So he wakes up, he goes back to reading, then flashes back again, and now this time this gang of all fucked up people with
right,
axes
there's a bunch
come.
of people there, and they're like, the agent is one of them. And again, he asks him, like, you want some of this, buddy?
Yeah.
And then all of the people, like, axe murder him.
Yes, and start
chop
eating
him
him and
up.
shit.
Yeah.
And he wakes up in a sweat, but then the zombie cop's right next to him.
Oh,
Dream within a
shit.
dream.
He looks like all like I don't know, like he's been in the water.
I don't know.
Or like all well, like they talk about everybody being mutated later. Like everyone's getting all gross.
right.
You get gross when you read Sutter Cane books.
And he starts taking some notes and like, where did all the ink on his hand come from? Did his pen
I
break?
don't
I missed
know.
that because it was just all of a sudden he
Puts it
wipes it under his eyes.
and like for no reason.
yeah, that doesn't. I don't
It
really
doesn't
get.
really come up again, or
what that
doesn't
had to
really
do with
tie
anything.
into anything. Is that he's tired? He put bags under his own eyes.
I guess. And he starts looking at these books and realizes, wait a minute, they each have this like red outline on
Right,
the, on
and
the
he starts
top.
like cutting them out and putting them together, and it's New Hampshire.
yeah, cute.
That's real cute.
So he takes it to the publisher and tells them, look, this is a map of New Hampshire and the town of Hobbs End.
Right.
And he's like, look, it could be an old forgotten town because they're like, it doesn't
Right.
exist. And he's
No,
like, it
there's
could
no
just
such
not be
thing.
on the maps anymore.
Right. Like maybe it's an old place. Maybe they renamed it. I don't know.
And he's like, oh, this makes a great contest. Like, discover
Find
the
Hobbs End and-
find Sutter Cane.
Right.
He's like, well, this all sounds like bullshit to me, but if you really want me to go,
Then yeah, whatever. I'll go. And he's like, yeah, I want you to go. And on top of that, I want you to take Styles with you.
that's right.
So now road trip.
So they're driving along. Trent starts driving first.
Right. And they're
And-
like out in the middle of nowhere.
And can you now? I know we've lived in this timeline, but we did not drive at this time. When you had to get a big ass paper map out. I mean, I had to print out a MapQuest,
The Thomas guide.
right? But I never had to like unfurl a fucking
No.
4x4
No.
map in the car while I was driving and try to figure out where I was going. So she's asleep
Printing
in
out
the
the
passenger
MapQuest
seat.
was as close
Yeah.
as doing that.
And why he has in his glove compartment a squeaky horn.
I know that he uses to terrorize his passengers.
And he wakes her up like that, and she starts
Whoa,
beating his
hey,
ass. Like,
what?
just fucking shake me, you asshole.
Ever throw chips at a driver. Never, ever. Where he, like, it slips every once in a while. Like, he uses his, maybe it's the longer this goes, the accent just,
The
he's like,
accent
fuck
starts
it.
to
Fuck it.
peek out.
Fuck it.
So he's like, look, we're lost. She's like, that's because Hobbs End doesn't fucking exist.
Right.
He's like, well, we'll see.
We'll find out.
So now it's nighttime.
Like,
and,
he's all, you drive, you know, whatever. Ooh, they switch.
and they start talking about if they like what they do for a living. And he really likes what he does for a living.
Yeah.
He
He's
likes
like,
busting
it's-
people.
Yeah. Like, you find a real pro, and that's the fun part. Well, that's what he tells Robinson.
But yeah, he's like, in this business, you find out anyone is capable of anything. She's like, you sound like Cain.
Yeah.
He's like, not me. You're the Cain lover.
Not me. You're the Cane lover.
She's like, I just like being scared.
Yeah, and he scares me.
And he's like, why? It's not real or anything.
Well,
Reality is just what we tell each other it is. Sane and insane could easily switch places if insane became the majority. You could find yourself locked in a padded cell wondering what happened. He's all, that
foreshadowing.
would never happen to me.
No, that's not gonna happen to me.
So it's his turn to or her turn to drive.
Right. And
he
she's
goes
out
to
there.
sleep.
Yeah, he's sleeping. It's dark. She can't fucking, like, she's starting to nod off or whatever, and she sees.
This boy riding his bike down the street.
And he's looking all spooked and weird. He's got a little card and the
Which makes it extra creepy, that sound.
right. And so they pass by.
So she sees a bike coming toward her this time, but now
Right.
this old man in the
Right.
same outfit on this bike, and she's like,
like,
"What the
whoa, what the fuck is that? And then, like, is this where she hits it?
No, so Trent wakes up a little, and she's like trying to explain what just happened, and she
Right.
can't, so he just goes back to sleep.
Yeah.
So she puts her glasses on and grabs the map, and that's when she ends up slamming right into the old man on the bike.
And like, oh, fuck, oh, shit. So now they go and look, and he's laying in the ground, the little spoke's still going. You see the card. And they, like, go get a blanket and whatever. And, like,
He's like, I can't get out. They won't let me out. And it's the little boy's voice. And they see a windmill, and she turns around, and he's fine. He's back on his bike. He's riding away. He smiles and rides off.
right. And now,
That doesn't make sense to me, because so if he's really like a kid trying to get out of Hobbs End, why did he smile and drive? You know what I mean? Like, you've been riding so
know.
long, you're an old man, and
he's
you're just
haunted,
like,
I guess. He's just
guess.
a whatever. So now he bikes away into the night. Now it's 1:41. They're back
Yes.
on the road.
Trent's
It's
asleep
total
again.
darkness. And Styles, like, looks out the window.
Well, first the lines in the road just disappear.
Yeah, like everything, it gets really, really dark. It's completely dark outside. And she's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? And she rolls down the window and looks, and the car's like flying.
in the clouds.
There's like thunder and lightning, and
She's
she
like,
sees,
what the
like,
fuck?
whoa, what the fuck? And then it connects with a covered bridge. It's like
Lights are flashing.
right. It's
They're
almost like a train is going by. but there
almost,
is
yeah.
no
It almost looks like
train.
windows or something.
Right, but it's like the little windows on the covered bridge, and she's all disoriented. And when they come out,
It's daytime.
it's daytime, and he's like, whoa.
I slept all night. Thanks for driving.
And
she's
she
like,
doesn't make any attempt.
No. She's so stunned. She's like,
She, like, did she think she fell asleep? Like, oh, fuck, how did I, like, manage to drive a straight line?
because they look over and here's the sign, Hobbs End.
Oh, shit, you found it. You're brilliant.
And so they go into town and there's no cars.
Nothing.
There's no people.
No one is around.
And they get out and she sees this bunch of kids run around the corner, but they just like disappear and
Right.
Trent
They're, like,
never sees
chasing a
them.
dog. Like, it's silent. Like, you don't hear anything. You just see them running through town chasing this dog, and he comes back, and he never saw any of that shit.
No. So they head over to the Pickman Hotel and he's like, oh, how'd you know about this place? I thought you never been here. And she's like, I read about it.
Yeah. It's
You have too.
It's in the books. And he was like, no, there's no. She's like, you remember in the garden thing,
In the
little
greenhouse thing,
there was
yeah.
all the weird vines, and then something was in there. He's like, well, it's empty now.
Yeah, it was totally empty. So they go in and it looks all nice and normal. And she points out the painting on the wall, which is mentioned in
Right.
the books, and the loose board in the floor. And he rings the bell, and that's when the old lady from Twin Peaks comes
Right.
out.
Little Miss Frances Bay, Little Miss Pickman comes out.
And she asks kind of what brings them there, and he mentions their famous little town, and she's like,
I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, I don't know this Cane.
Yeah, he's like, the Sutter Cane books talks about this town. She's like, I don't know
what you mean.
No one passes through here much anymore.
Right. It's a really quiet, sleepy little town.
And Linda sees the painting people move. And again,
I know.
does not make any attempt really to tell him.
Doesn't whatever. Yeah, like they're moving around, like shit's all weird. And like this would have to be, he thinks that all of this is like a setup.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, look at all of you. Like this would have to be actors. A really dedicated hoax. Just for him.
I mean, if this dude makes more than Stephen King money,
I guess.
You could do it.
I guess if you bought some little town out in the middle
you don't even need to do it. People want to read your book already. You don't even need to spend this kind of publicity money to promote your book.
It would just make people, well, I mean, I guess think about it. How many people go out to that Shining Hotel?
Yeah.
All of the time.
Yeah. If you were like, if there was a whole series of Stephen King books and they were all about this one town and you're like, oh yeah, you can go to the town and all this shit that he talks about are there. Yeah.
Go to his house and all that other shit. So yeah, maybe.
So before we find out what other horrors are in store in Hobbs End, we're going to take a quick break.
Let's do it.
We'll be right back. And we're back.
We are back.
So they get to their room and are they sharing a room?
I know. I thought that too.
They
I was
just
like
met.
in this quaint little space. It seems like they were sharing that room. So now she's like, what if what he's writing isn't fiction? What if he's writing about...
Right. She's like, they're all here. All the people from the book are here. Right. And he's like, no. Mrs. Pickman in the book chops her husband into coleslaw.
Like, you can't tell me that little old lady chops her husband up or is the type of person that would do that. And besides, look out this window. It's an old barn.
Yeah, it should be a black Byzantine church with gold onions on top of its spires. And she's like,
no. You didn't read it closely enough. The view is from the east. And she looks out another window and sure as shit.
There it is.
There's the church.
So they go to check out the church as he's reading about it in the book.
Right. He's talking about all of the things that are happening here in this place. And all of this mob pulls up to this church as they're walking towards it, led by Vigo.
Yes. There's a dog running through a nearby field. The kids are chasing the dog. She's like trying to get his attention. He's still reading this book. He's like,
sure.
But I mean, it's interesting. He's like,
right. And it talks about this place
older
of this
than
old
mankind,
evil.
Wider than the known universe,
right.
a place
of
pain and suffering.
And takes the children first and infects the adults afterwards or whatever. So she's trying to get his attention. He's still reading. They show up at this church. There's this mob.
And he's like, they go to church and the doors are locked. And she's like, well, you're going to have somebody to ask about Cane in about 2 seconds because these cars come all these people screeching up.
He mentions there's like a St. Michael fighting the dragon on top of this door or whatever. And then all these people show up again, led by Vigo. And he's got a shotgun. He's talking about give him back.
Mm-hmm. And the door's open and this little boy is standing there.
Little Johnny boy. And I assume this is his son that they took from him, and the doors start
slamming shut.
And when they open up again,
Sutter Cane be there to Sutter Cane.
There's Sutter Cane be,
and these
Dobermans broccoli head.
Yes,
he was like, release the hounds.
He releases the hounds on them, and they attack the men. Linda and Trent are already halfway to the car,
she's
but
like,
see
we
all
gotta
this
go.
happening.
Yeah, we gotta go.
And when they get there, their little herpetic girl is.
I know,
they all have these
got,
mouth sores. Yeah,
they've got a pox on their houses.
And she's like, I see.
And then Trent is still like, this is like a setup.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get someone to come clean before I leave this shitty town.
I know, this. I just gotta figure out what this con is, but you motherfuckers. This is good. I'll give you that.
And she's like, well, you're half right. We did send him on a publicity stunt, but he never showed up.
And when we went out, we weren't supposed to find anything, only we did.
This is all happening for real.
Right. We are not in on this shit.
And he's like, nuh-uh, there was no mob of kids in what I read. And she's like, yeah, in the new one.
In the new book, there is all of this stuff.
Only me and Cane's agent have read this.
And he was like, and what's it about? It's the end of everything.
It starts here with an evil that takes over Hobbs End, starting with the children.
Right.
People turning into things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, look, we need to skip to the ending and read this so that we can fucking... And then she just starts trying to mac out of nowhere.
I know.
That came from nowhere.
Whoa, hold on. He's like, we gotta go.
Yeah, are you coming with me? And so she's like, no. And he goes to leave, but she has the keys.
Uh-oh.
And he goes down to the lobby and he notices the painting is different. The
Right,
faces are all fucked up.
Twisted things in it, and the things are all fucked up. And he sees the little Miss Pickman there, looking a little more
Her
disheveled.
eyes are all red around. Yeah.
And she's like, there's something moaning under the desk that she's trying to keep quiet. And he was like, so, what's going on
You're
there?
looking a little worse for wear there. She's like,
Right.
I've been reading.
I've been up late reading.
And you hear this groan from under the desk and she like kicks
Right.
something under there.
And he goes up. to,
Styles runs out past him.
Right. And like,
He goes to chase her
after
down.
And then it's revealed that underneath behind the front desk is like
Her old
Mr.
naked
Pickman
husband handcuffed to
handcuffed
her ankle.
Excuse
Woo!
me.
You dirty, kinky old bitch.
The Pickmans. The Pickmans.
And so now Trent goes to a bar and has a beer, but does somebody work here?
I know. Well, he goes out, but there's like weird people creeping, sneaking, peeping.
Like all these parents that are searching for their kids are kind of randomly around, but
Right.
like it doesn't seem like anyone's at work.
No. And like it seems like it was kind of disheveled in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or something. I don't know. But he goes in there to have a beer.
And
I don't know who serves him this
I don't
beer.
know. I guess he went behind and like wouldn't that tip you off? Like you had to go serve your own beer? Because you don't ever see anybody working there.
Know what's really happening because he's not in control of what he's doing, or is he? I don't know.
I don't know. So Vigo comes in and he's like, "Oh, are you a writer?" And he's like, "No, are you an actor?"
Yeah.
And he's
'Cause
like,
this is
"Look,
really
take the
good."
hint. Leave this. This ain't no tourist town."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I've been trying to, but you guys are good."
Yeah, like I can't seem to get out of here.
And
He's like, can I buy you a beer?
Vigo tells him Cain's been messing with the church and something came leaking out and took the little ones first, then came after us.
Right. And then he like goes to sit down, and is this where he takes out that shotgun?
Not yet. So now we cut back to Styles at the church.
Oh, right. She goes in there, and isn't that where it says?
Well, the pack of feral children are out there. And now the dog's missing a leg. I guess the kids ate it or something. I don't know.
I guess. And like now they look like little monsters.
She's like, "Where do you live?"
With you.
Who takes care of you?
You do.
That's so fucking creepy.
No.
You're my mommy now.
And
know what
it's
today
Mommy's
is?
day.
And her fucking mouth.
I know the little
Ah.
teeth. She wants to chew on you a little bit.
So Linda's like, "Nah, here's your ball. I'm
Right?
heading this way."
You go that way. I'm not your mommy. I'm not your fucking mommy.
Trent goes back to the hotel looking for Linda.
Right. Like, why would she
Why would she be back at the hotel?
I
She
don't
clearly
know.
took the car and went somewhere.
back at the motel?
And the only place you looked was the bar. You wouldn't have
Right.
immediately thought the church, which is the only place you saw people.
Because he's not in control of what he's doing, I guess. So he goes back there looking for her. Doesn't see her there. Then he goes back down looking for Miss Pickman. And he hears like screaming and
Well, before
whatever.
that happens, Linda finds this door. She goes back to the church and finds
Oh.
this door.
Yes.
And there's just an empty room with like a typewriter and some paper. And so she shuts the door and walks away. But then she hears clack, 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 clack. She
And
hears
she
the
opens it
typewriter.
up.
And now it's a totally different looking room.
Right. When she opens it up again.
And Sutter Cane is in there typing away. Mm-hmm. And the dogs are just in there running around.
Yep.
A hand from nowhere grabs her shoulder, pulls her in, shuts the door. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh,
No,
Linda.
nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. You can edit this one from the inside looking out."
Yeah, I thought I was making all this shit up, but they were telling me what to write.
And he looks over at this wet, seething
I know.
door.
They gave me the power to make it real.
All these horrible, slimy things trying to get back in. They're all true. And she's starting to look like drunk.
I
She's
know.
like,
she's
what
like all
the fuck?
bewitched or whatever, and like there's flashes, and then she like weeps blood.
Well, because he tells her, "Come see the instrument of their homecoming, the new Bible." And he like pushes her
Yeah.
face into the manuscript,
right,
and she like
has to
sees
see-
it all.
She sees.
She knows the end now, and her eyes are bleeding.
Right, and she like goes to hug him or whatever, and he's got that demon on his
He has like
back
a
with the
monster
little-
growing out of his back.
little arms reaching out for you. So now Style goes back like, help me.
Well,
I'm
Trent's like he
losing
can't
me."
get he can't get the phone to work, and then she comes in flailing.
Right, like don't read it, don't read the book. I saw it.
And he goes to the lobby, and the phone doesn't work there either.
course.
And now the people in the photo are just full on H.P. Lovecraft
The
monsters.
horrors are emerging into this world.
And the
this,
church is in the painting now.
Yes. And this is where he starts hearing the screaming.
Yes,
and
the
he
beating
goes,
and yelling sounds.
follows the noise down, and Miss Pickman has turned into...
Oh, I don't know, man. The Thing. She got
Right? She got
tentacles or
things.
some shit.
She got
did.
thingity thing.
John Carpenter loves some tentacles
I-
coming out of something,
He sure do.
right?
Are there
throw
any
some.
tentacles in Prince of Darkness?
Ooh,
There's
I
goo.
watched it not even that long ago,
I
and I can't
know.
remember.
Neither
Shit.
can I.
So yeah, so he sees her chopping up her husband and shit,
Yes,
and fucking
in
takes off
bits.
running for Styles.
He's like, all right, we're leaving. We're out of here. Like, we got to go.
but she's stuck in this, or not stuck, but she's like behind the door of this other room, and he sees these tentacles
I
whipping
know.
out from under
Again,
the
with
door.
he's like, all right, you can stay here. I'm just going to bail out.
Yeah, so she throws him through the door.
Mm-hmm.
He runs out to the car. He looks back and sees another monster in the greenhouse that kind
Yes.
of looks like a fucking sea monster.
Or
not
something like a plant monster.
I don't know. So he drives into town, but there's this mob of, there's like children doing.
It would have made it better if they would have put like some plants or some shit in there, and like
Right, it was
made
weird that it was
something
just
moving
empty.
along the plants. It was weird that it was just some guy in a
Some
suit
guy
and they're like,
standing there.
Another
monster.
I'm a monster.
So
Anyway,
he can't keep driving because there's this circle of kids followed by a circle of adults doing ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, which that's got a terrible
sure, and they've all got a
origin.
pox.
Yeah, they're all
all got a pox.
malformed. And he goes back into the bar, and that's when Vigo is there, like
Right.
still kind of
He was like,
kind
"Oh,
of dying.
Yeah, you still here?
You guys are professionals. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and he was like, well, hey, reality ain't what it used to be.
And he's like, you see all these face wounds? My fucking 5-year-old did this shit to
Right?
me.
Like, and now I can't remember what came first, us or the book.
And he puts his shotgun to his chin.
And he's like, no, don't do it. He's like, I
have
can,
to.
I have to. He wrote me this way.
Ba-boom!
Kapow.
So Trent goes outside and the mob is waiting, and Linda is part of the mob.
And then they get into like a fist fight.
She like punches him and he
And
knocks
he
her the
punches
fuck
her
out.
back. He's like, let's go. Throws her over his shoulder, puts her in the car. And he's like, oh, fuck, the keys.
And she, how does she swallow a set of
Because they were
keys?
made of pasta. That's how.
Really?
Because they were made of pasta.
Oh, she actually put
She
some.
put pasta keys in her mouth.
Oh wow! And just swallowed them whole.
I guess so,
It seems
but-
like you could have just cut away when she put them in her mouth.
I
She
know,
didn't
like
need
you
to
didn't
swallow
have to do
keys.
that whole thing, but I guess they did, and they made it out of pasta so she could eat it.
And then he just happens to know how to hotwire a car with the screwdriver
He
that
was
just
like, I
happens
just
to
keep,
be in the
I
glove
keep
compartment.
this for emergencies. When I have to go now, when my passenger eats the fucking keys.
Well, I'm sorry. When she ate the keys, I would have kicked her ass out. Why are you taking her? You don't have
Right?
you barely know this woman.
Bitch, you're lucky I didn't take this screwdriver and gut
You
you, to
saw
get
the
them keys back.
tentacles. You saw her swallow a
Right?
set of keys whole. Why
As
is
soon
she
as
in the car with
punched
you?
me, I would have left her ass there.
Yes, I would have just gotten in the car and gone.
I mean, he still would have had to hotwire it 'cause she still had the keys.
yeah, but
But still.
still.
I would have left her ass in Hobbs End.
And she's like, Kane's writing me. He wants me to kiss you. It's
The
good for the
readers
book.
love it.
So he almost wrecks because she's trying to make out.
Right. Like she goes way too hard.
And
Way
he's-
too hard.
He stops at this phone booth where that old man child from earlier is on a call.
That's what I kept writing, the little old boy.
Little old boy.
Little old boy.
And he gets back. And who's he calling? From the phone booth, little old man child.
He's calling 1-800-COLLECT. Come pick me up now.
He stops at this phone
Come
booth.
pick me up now.
And then the kid gets back on his bike and leaves.
Yeah.
And Linda's head.
Oh, he hears like a crispy crackling going on over there, and it's a contortionist.
Around the car door, she's doing a Linda Blair
Back
spider
bend
walk.
with like a mask of her face over this contortion, which I meant to write down the name, but again,
An actual
I thought somebody would be
contortionist
here.
did this
Yes.
did this bit with a mask.
with a mask over their face, and
Oh.
like walks towards him doing that giggle with that.
Kane
and
has a
even-
job for you.
Oh, even when she like flips over
yeah.
and
oh.
like the head is still the other way.
And then suddenly, so he's back in the car. He takes off.
He's
and
like, but I'm out. I'm fucking gone.
and then the lines in the road light up, and now he's right back at the mob.
Oh shit, he can't get out.
And he just keeps trying to do the same thing. He turns
Right, over
around,
and over
drives
again.
away.
What's the definition of insanity?
And this time he sees Linda on the back of the kid's
Right.
bike.
Now he sees the little old boy, this time featuring Styles.
And he turns around again, runs in the mob, turns off, drives away again.
Right.
And this time he
now-
just stops.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what?
I'm just
I'm
going
gonna
to
drive through 'em.
into this mob.
But Linda's at the back. And again, drive over
into
her.
Who
What the
gives a
fuck?
shit? Did
Save
you see that
yourself.
contortionist shit? She's one of them.
She ain't coming back from this shit, bro. You better
she's
just run her
long
over.
Gone.
So, of course, instead he veers, hits a parked car, knocks
crashes
himself
all
out.
the shit.
And he wakes up
Duh.
in a confessional
Duh.
box in the church.
Uh-oh. It lights up. It's Cain. He talks about the problem with religion. No one ever believed it enough to make it real.
I had a note when Cain shows up and he's like, "Oh, do you want to know the problem with religion?" The look on his face is like, I mean, bro, I really want to finish
Yeah,
this
like, I would
cigarette.
really
Not one,
just like
I've
to
never
smoke this
gotten to
cigarette.
smoke this whole cigarette
Right?
throughout this film.
I know
you
they weren't
just-
as expensive then. You could just be throwing them out anywhere, but I don't know what the liquor store situation in Hobbs End is.
But his face just said, "Not really, bro. I want to
Right,
get the
like-
fuck out of here, but I bet you're gonna tell me anyway."
You seem like a wordy motherfucker.
So he goes on I've never known how to that religion's never known how to convey the anatomy of horror.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand the true nature of creation, and no one has ever believed enough to make it real.
Right.
But the same cannot be said of my work.
Oh no, people be reading this shit, believing this shit, making this shit very real.
They believe in my work more than the Bible.
Yep.
And Trent's like, look, there's got to be a simple explanation.
Like
I
there's
can't.
no way that
Your
the
books
whole
suck.
yeah, like you're a fucking hack, dog.
And when he tells him his books suck, the light flashes again.
Oh, I'm out of here.
You must try reading my new one.
Right,
It'll drive
maybe-
you absolutely mad. What is he, the Cheshire Cat?
Ooh, he's the Mad Hatter. That's what his hair do.
It will make the world ready for the change.
Yes, it would allow the old ones to come back.
It gets its power from new readers and new believers.
Yep, that's the point. Belief.
And then Cain's he's suddenly sitting in Cain's lap or something.
I
You want to
know.
see?
He's like, here, let me tell you. He's like, when people lose their ability to know the difference between fantasy, and reality, that's when the old ones that can begin their journey back. And that's when
He pushes his head into the wall and he
I
sees,
know.
so not even the manuscript.
see.
So now he's on the floor of the typing room.
Yep,
All done.
yep. I
Puts
need
the last
you to take
paper
it
down.
Yep.
Puts the lid on the box. In the mouth of madness, yours to deliver, Trent.
Yep.
I'm going to be joining my new publishers now. Mm-hmm. And he goes to that
He's
wet,
like, why
seething
would I
door.
take this? He's like, because that's what I wrote you to do.
The town wasn't here before I wrote it, and neither were you.
He's like, what? No, I know what I am.
He's like, my agent didn't attack you by accident. He read about you. He knew you were going to bring the book back.
Right.
He was trying to stop you.
Yep.
So read it if you don't believe me. See what I have in store for you. So he sends him down this passage that kind of looks like a spaceship.
Well, like it's the covered bridge again. He
but
shows
yeah,
him that
but
that's
it
the
looks
way
all
out, but
high
yeah.
tech. Like,
I know, like it's all weird. But on the other side, he's like, it's the torn, because that's when
it looks like a torn book page.
well,
that
Sutter
he,
Cane tears himself
Yes.
up to pieces.
and just becomes a book
Paper
page. I don't know.
pages, I guess. So yeah, now there's this hole in there, and Styles starts to read from the book, and it's exactly what's happening. Trent goes to the hole and looks in it, stares into the void.
Abominations spilling and tumbling out of a carrion black pit, choked with the gleaming bones of. It goes on and on
They're
and on.
coming closer and closer until, and no, like he's all, let's go, and she's like, no, I can't. I already read to the end.
Yep. So she gives him the book, sends him down the hallway of space wetness.
Go back, go now through space wetness,
And the band Guar tumbles after him. I swear to
I
God, that
know
was
it
my
does,
note. I
it
was like, this is
does.
Guar.
It is.
And he falls on his face. He covers his head and he wakes up in the daylight
Oh
at a
shit!
crossroads in a
It's
windmill.
where they crashed or hit the biker or whatever.
And this is where Hayden Christensen apparently
Sure,
stops on
the
his
kid
bike.
shows up
Want a
and he's
paper?
like-
He doesn't
No.
say it like that.
Hey, mister.
You want a
You want a
paper?
paper?
He's like, no. Have you been in an accident? You want me to get somebody?
He's like, no, I just, can you point me to the nearest town? He drops the book. He sees that
Yeah.
shit. He's like, nope, I'm going to leave this shit here at this crossroads. Off I go.
And he stops the kid real quick. You ever hear of Hobbs End? And he's like,
Like, nope.
So he hitchhikes, semi picks him up,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes back to his motel or whatever, is watching monster movies.
Yep.
Goes to sleep on top of the covers, gets to the lobby in the morning, buys a paper.
And the kid at the desk is like, hey, package arrived for you.
He's like, nobody knows I'm here.
Somebody does.
And it's a fucking manuscript.
Oh, shit. He's like, who the fuck brought this here?
And some big dude comes out the back
He's
like,
I got it and I didn't see shit.
you want to fucking do some shit with me? So he
Right.
burns it in the bathroom sink.
Mm-hmm.
He gets on a bus.
Yep.
And he sits next to
This
this
is
old
only
New
the
York
New
lady.
York in the Depression. Everything was terrible. You think things are bad now.
And that night, she turns into Sutter Cane.
Oh.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm God now. You understand?
Right?
He's all, God's not supposed to be a hack horror writer.
Right? He's like, hey, look around you when you wake up. Did I mention my favorite color is blue?
He wakes up and everything in the
Everything's
bus is blue. He starts to scream like, this scream.
I know.
He should have got an award just for
right?
this fucking
Just
moment.
for like this, and everyone's like, wake up, you're awake now.
He is in the mouth of madness now.
Oh, shit.
But it was just a dream.
He goes to some information desk and it's just like, no, there is no Hobbs End. Like, I believe
Never
you were
is, never
somewhere,
was.
but it was not called that, never was, never is, never will be.
Nope.
A place called Hobbs End.
And at first he's like, let me see your supervisor. And then he
Right.
realizes, oh, I sound crazy.
Right.
So
I
he
need
just
to
leaves.
stop. Was I raving?
Yes.
So,
He
now-
goes down that same dark alley with all of the Hobbs End horror posters and tears one to see that behind it
is him.
in the mouth of madness poster is a
Right.
drawing of him.
And he goes to see Farglow.
Yes, goes
And
to
it's
Charlton
like-
Heston.
He's like, wow, that's a really wild story, but I don't know why you made up this Styles person. I sent you by yourself.
Yeah, I sent you alone. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't I remember her? And he's like, well, that's easy. She was written out.
He's like, okay. And he's like, I gotta destroy that manuscript. He's like, you brought that to me like 4 months ago.
Yeah, 7 weeks ago. Or no,
Last
it's been
week-
out for 7
Yeah, it's
weeks
been out
already.
for 7 weeks. The movie comes out in July.
Yeah. He's like,
Like-
don't distribute it. He's like, no, it's already
out
done,
there.
man.
He's like, it'll drive people crazy. And he's like, the movie comes out next month.
And we hear, so he goes, we hear like the
It's like
news and whatever, it's breaking all
It's
records.
a possible posthumous release by Sutter Cane. There's violent outbreaks amongst clergy, medical, and police. An epidemic of schizophrenic violence.
We just talked about schizophrenia in the last episode.
I know. Weird.
And Trent is waiting outside the store where they're doing the release of the book or whatever.
Or the movie.
Or the
Everyone's
movie,
in line
maybe.
for the movie. And like he axe murders somebody.
Yeah. This kid whose eyes are bleeding comes out
Right.
and he's like, oh, did you like it?
He's like, well, then this shouldn't come as a surprise.
Let me chop you up with an axe.
Chop, chop.
And this is why we saw in the beginning he was
Right.
dragged into.
So this is the story that he's telling to Dr. Wrenn. This brings us back to where we are now. He is brought into this asylum and he knows it's only going to get worse.
Yes. And he's like, yeah, and for people who don't read it, there's a movie.
There's a movie. So I'm safe in here now. Every species can smell its own extinction. Maybe 10 years, maybe less. The human race will be a bedtime story. A myth.
Nothing more.
Right?
And the doc leaves and Stanfield is waiting and locks up. And the doc tells him what
He's like,
Trent said, and he's like, do you
it's
read
no
Sutter
use.
Cane?
He thinks it's fiction that Sutter Cane is causing all of this. He's like, do you read Sutter Cane?
And he doesn't answer and walks off, and Stanfield follows him.
Right. Or Saperstein.
Or Saperstein. What do I have? Stanfield.
I don't know.
Saperstein.
Been around the world and
I can't find my baby. I don't know when, I don't know why. Why you call him Stanfield? So Trent is lying on his mat, and the lights
It's
flicker,
a stormy night.
and the
power goes
screams
out.
begin.
Oh shit. The horrors have arrived.
And he just watches the shadows of the horrors
I
unfold
know.
outside his little window.
And then silence.
And sudden banging, and his door is open.
And it's a mess out there. And he
There's
comes
like
out.
claw marks and blood,
And
papers
something's
everywhere.
out there. And the news, there's like cities are abandoned. No one is left. There's random violence and mutated people. And the coasts are silent.
And he goes out and he finds a movie theater showing the movie.
In the Mouth of Madness.
And now
starring
who
John
works at this
Trent.
movie theater during this?
I don't know. It's just still playing.
It's just running because like he must have got his own popcorn.
Right. He got his own. He
Set up
served
the film
himself.
for himself.
Sure. He knows what he's doing.
And he's watching the movie just like we just watched.
Right. And he laughs until he cries.
Laughs hysterically.
Right.
until
Like,
it
oh,
cuts
fuck.
to black.
Oh, fuck. Yep.
But yeah, this is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies.
I do
mean, the
enjoy
thing
it.
is also, I don't know. There's a lot of really good John Carpenter movies.
I mean, why can't I have a Big Trouble in Little China? I
Oh,
was
duh.
like, why-
Yeah.
I'm like,
of
why can't I
course.
think of it right now? I could see it in my mind. I could see it with my eyes.
I want to say John Carpenter might have multiple spots in my top 10 favorite movies of
I
all
think
time.
that could be very true. That could be very true.
He's one of my faves, man.
We have another one of his coming up later in the year again. Ooh,
Which one do
he's
we
an
have
old
coming up?
man in October.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
We got one coming up in October.
So yeah, I don't think we have. Oh, how did it doom us? I don't know. It just
I don't
doomed-
know. It's just
It
it's
wasn't
a wild
my first John
fucking-
Carpenter movie, so it didn't
No.
doom me to love John Carpenter. But
it wasn't. But I mean, to have that whole like movie within a movie, within a dream, within a dream, within a whatever, and all the fantasy
just very
things
cool.
and all the horrors and all the whatever, and that contortionist shit.
yeah,
You know that shit freaks me right the fuck out.
So yeah, I don't think we have any messages this week, you guys.
Okay, fine. We're a little dry on this. The most romantic of months.
Call us, text us, 702-720-DOOM.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember. Come on, 702-720-DOOM.
Easy to remember.
Follow us on all of the things. We're still, unfortunately, on all of the social
I
medias
know.
until we figure out what the fuck is where everybody's going. Because I know
know.
everybody's leaving a thing to go to a thing,
Where's the thing?
and I can't. I'm just on the classics right now, you guys, because all the new things are too much for this old nana.
Tom needs to make a comeback.
Right? Give me Tom from MySpace. We'll
Give
set
me
our
Tom
top
from
8.
MySpace days. Tom can still be my
We
number
can
one.
change our HTML every week to go with the movie with like, to have
With,
like
like,
a
the
background be the
music
movie
and
and the
the
music.
bitch.
Fucking bring back MySpace. We'll
Right?
I'll go MySpace only if you bring back
Right?
Tom
If you
and
bring
the
back
original MySpace.
the original MySpace, or we can make a little thing and do a little thing every week. Tom be our number one up there.
Yeah, but in the
Do it.
meantime, we're on all the things. The newest is Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky.
The least of the
The least evil for now.
I guess.
I don't
for
even
now,
know who owns
knows?
this
They
one.
could be stomping fucking puppies in their free
Right, I
time
have
for
no
all I
idea.
know.
But we're on there too. We've got patreon.com/Doom Generation. We're trying to do how we were doing this week in Doom. We're trying to do this month in Doom because, we don't get together as often,
Right.
unfortunately.
That's true. That's true.
And so we're going to try to keep up with those, and hopefully we'll get some new stickers and new things out to you guys soon.
Yeah.
And until then,
We'll talk at you next time. Later, Doomers.